Hey guys, how's it going? Today I want to show you how I fertilize my annual plants. It seems to be a pretty common question, so for those of you who just want the quick and easy answer, I use this Proven Winners water-soluble food once a week on all of my annuals, and I mix it up in this great big giant tank. And there's nothing different between mixing it up in this tank versus in a watering can. The mix instructions are exactly the same, so you can scale it to whatever size of container you're using to water with. So for those of you who want a little bit more detail on this whole setup and the fertilizer, I'll start with this tank first. This is something I'm really excited about this year. We recently had this built to pull behind our truck so that we could roll it around our property. It's got a hose on it so we can easily hit all of our annuals. So this tank holds 150 gallons of fertilizer water, and it's got an agitator in the bottom. So when we put the fertilizer in and fill it up with water, that agitator mixes everything up and distributes that fertilizer evenly in all the water. I don't have to stick anything in through the lid to stir it up, so it eliminates that step. And then it comes into this pump right here, which is a 6.25 gallon per minute pump. Which is honestly a little bit on the slow side. I think that might be something that we upgrade maybe next year. It just means that there isn't quite as much pressure, which is good and bad. I mean, it's good because you can have your hose on full bore and it's still not going to beat your plants up. It's just a nice gentle stream. But then on the other hand, it can take a little bit longer when you have a smaller size pump. And then there is a hose reel attached, which is super handy. This is 100-foot hose. It's a 1/2 inch diameter. And honestly, a couple of things about this too that we might tweak, and it's all about refining your process. I'll talk in just a second about all the other things we've tried throughout the years. So this hose right here, I hate to use the word hate. I dislike using the word hate, but I really don't like hoses that have ribs in them like this. And it could just be because I don't like to use gloves, but they hurt my hand. And they seem to kink somehow easier. I don't know if that's user error or not, but I do attach the dram wand to the end, which is what I have on the end of all of my hoses, and I like the little thing at the end. It distributes water really nicely. So another thing that we might change about the reel next year is we might have it swapped, so like twisted to where the hose reels off this way, because it doesn't make much sense to reel it off toward the back of your truck because you just run into that. So it makes it a little bit difficult to wheel it out and to reel it back in. So we'll have that switched around, and we'll probably have this widened so I can add 150 feet of hose rather than just 100 feet. But all of these things, like, it's going to work great for this year, and it's just something that we're working on. So the first year that we moved into this house 3 years ago, I was still fertilizing everything by hand with a watering can. So 2 gallons at a time. It was taking between 4 and 5 hours every single week, which is absurd. I mean, who has that kind of time every single week? There were some weeks I would just skip it all together because I just didn't have enough time, and then my plants would start to suffer. And when you go through all the work of planting all of those annuals, you want them to perform, and they have such a short season, and we want them to bloom well, we want them to grow fast, that they really need consistent food. It's so, so important. So figuring out the system to make it more efficient for us has been really top priority. So watering can was the first 1.5 years, and then we upgraded to a fertilizer injector system called Dosatron, which we showed you guys in a previous video. But it's something that you hook up between your hose faucet and then your actual hose, and it draws up the amount of fertilizer you tell it to and injects it into your hose, which was really great for the first year. And then it started to not work quite properly. I didn't feel like it was drawing up fertilizer like it should, and I couldn't figure out how to fix it. And I didn't even know if I had the fertilizer dialed proper. It was just kind of a complicated system to me. And while somebody could probably figure it out pretty easily, I just wanted a system that was straightforward. Like, there's just seriously nothing different between mixing up fertilizer in this tank versus mixing it up in your watering can. The only difference is this is your watering can, and this end of your hose is your spout, and you have a pump in between to make it more like a live hose. And then the fertilizer I use has worked really great throughout the years. I do start by adding in a slow release at the beginning of the season. So this is something that's activated by heat, not by water running over it. And it's a slow feed. It lasts 6 to 8 weeks, and it seems to give my plants a really good boost. This is more of a quick feed, and this is your slow feed. So you can reapply this throughout the season, which sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but it gets your plants off to a really good start. And then the good thing about this fertilizer is that it has chelated iron mixed into it, which is essential, especially for your super bells, your super tunias, to keep really nice, healthy green foliage and to keep your plants from struggling. So anyway, I've had great luck. So I'm going to demonstrate how this works. We did all of the math. So we know that this tank holds 150 gallons of water. So we measured out and figured out that one of these containers of fertilizer does about 100 gallons. So I'm going to use a container and a half, which it's handy because they actually come in, let me show you, they come in 2 packages in here. So each one of these packages does 50 gallons of fertilizer, which for your average like home, like for our last home that we lived in, I mean, this container would have lasted me forever. But I'm gonna be using 3 of these packages to fill this tank right now. So I'm gonna take the lid off. And then I'm gonna pour each one of these down into the reservoir. Now I'm gonna go grab my hose and we'll get the tank filled up. This is actually the kind of hose I want to replace the orange one with. This is a Gilmore heavy duty hose, which is my preferred hose right now. This is 5/8 inch, which is the size I like to use hooked to all my faucets. But I don't think that Gilmore has a heavy duty in a 1/2 inch, so I might have to go medium duty. But you can see it's nice and smooth and it's really comfortable on my hands. I actually think we might do a video all about hoses here pretty soon. All right, so we are full to the brim, so we're ready to start fertilizing. But I do want to stress that this fertilizer is only for my annual plants. This is not for my vegetable garden or for my perennials, shrubs, trees, things like that. I use Espoma products on that, which I've talked to you guys about in a previous video. Like I use the Espoma Biotone every time I plant a new perennial, shrub, or tree. I use Biotone in my vegetable garden when I get ready to plant. I also use Garden Tone, Plant Tone, Rose Tone, Holly Tone. It just kind of depends on what I'm planting out in the garden or fertilizing on an annual basis. This fertilizer is just for my annuals. I just wanted to make sure that there was some distinction there. All right, so the rest of this video is gonna be just kind of a montage of us fertilizing. We'll show you all the stuff that we roll around and fertilize. There's really not a whole lot to it, so here we go. Much all there is to fertilizing. This is what we do once a week, and like I said, there's no difference between mixing up fertilizer in this tank versus in a watering can. It's all the same ratio. When you get one of those containers of fertilizer, there's a little tablespoon measuring scoop, and you do 1 tablespoon per gallon. So if you're mixing up fertilizer in a 2-gallon watering can, you use 2 scoops. Since I have a 150-gallon watering can, I use 150 scoops. So it's just all depends on how you're applying it, like what you're using to mix it up in. So anyway, I think the important thing is that you just fertilize. That's how we have the most success with everything. Our plants do better. So anyway, I just hope this video was helpful. I know we've seen the comments so many times of you guys just wanting to see how we fertilize. So I hope that this kind of eliminates any confusion and just shows you like what we do. So anyway, we will see you guys in the next video. Bye.